I'm Bailey Bavar, and I'm the director of this production, and we have had an immensely fun time.
I didn't think it polite to listen, sir.
Very sorry for your sake. I don't play accurately. Anyone can play accurately, but I play with wonderful expression. As far as the piano is concerned, sentiment is my forte. I keep science for life.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of the science of life, have you got the cucumber sandwiches cut for Lady Bracknell?
Yes, sir.
By the way, Lane, I see from your book that on Thursday evening when Lord Shorman and Mr. Worthing were dining with me, 8 bottles of champagne are entered as having been consumed.
Yes, sir. 8 bottles and a pint.
Why is it that at a bachelor's establishment, the servants invariably drink all the champagne? I ask merely for information.
I attribute it to the superior quality of the wine, sir. I have often observed that in married households, the champagne is rarely a first-rate brand.
Really? Is marriage so demoralizing as that?
It is a very pleasant state, sir. I have little experience of it myself up to the present. I was only married once, and that was in consequence of a misunderstanding between myself and a young person.
I don't know that I'm much interested in your family life, Lane.
No, sir, it's not a very interesting subject. I never think of it myself.
Very natural, I'm sure. That will do, Lane. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Lane's views on marriage seem somewhat lax. Really, if the lower orders don't set us a good example, then what is the use of them? They seem, as a class, to have no sense of moral responsibility.
Mr. Earnest Worthing.
Dear fellow Ernest, what brings you up to town?
Oh, pleasure, pleasure. What else would bring anyone anywhere? Eating as usual, I see, Algy.
Well, I believe it is customary in good society to take some slight refreshment at 5 o'clock. Where have you been since last Thursday?
In the country.
Really? What do you do there?
When one is in town, one amuses oneself. When one is in the country, one amuses other people. It is excessively boring.
And who are these people that you amuse?
Neighbors.
So, got nice neighbors in your part of Shropshire?
Perfectly horrid. Never speak to one of them.
Oh, immensely. You must amuse them. By the way, Shropshire is your county, is it not?
Shropshire? Oh, yes, of course. Oh, look at all the teacups. Why aren't the cucumber sandwiches? Why such reckless extravagance in one so young? Who's coming to tea?
Oh, merely Aunt Augusta and Gwendolyn.
Oh, how perfectly delightful.
Yes, that is all very well, my dear boy, but I'm afraid that Aunt Augusta won't quite approve of you being here.
May I ask why?
Oh, my dear fellow, the way you flirt with Gwendolyn is absolutely scandalous. It's almost as bad as the way she flirts with you.
But I'm in love with Gwendolyn. I have come up to town expressly to propose to her.
I thought you said you came up for pleasure. I call that business.
How utterly unromantic you are.
Oh, there's nothing romantic about proposing. It's very romantic to be in love, yes, but there's nothing romantic about a definite proposal, why, one may be accepted. One usually is, I would imagine, and then the excitement is all over. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. If I ever get married, I will certainly try to forget the facts.
I have no doubt about that, my dear Algy. The divorce court was especially invented for people whose memories are so curiously constituted.
Oh, there's no use speculating that subject. Divorces are made in heaven. Please, don't touch the cucumber sandwiches. They are ordered specially for Aunt Augusta.
But you've been eating them all the time.
That is a very different matter. She is my aunt. Have some bread and butter. The bread and butter is for Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn is devoted to bread and butter.
Quite good bread and butter it is, too.
My dear fellow, you need not eat it as if you were going to eat it all. Really. You act as if you are married to her already. You are not married to her, and I don't think you ever will be.
Why on earth do you say that?
In the first place, girls never marry the men they flirt with. They don't think it right.
That is nonsense.
It isn't. It is the great truth. It accounts for the extraordinary number of bachelors that one sees all over the place. In the second place, I don't give my consent.
Your consent?
My dear fellow, Gwendolyn is my first cousin. And before I allow you to marry her, you will have to clear up the whole question of Cecily.
Cecily? What do you mean, Algy, by Cecily? I don't know anyone of the name of Cecily.
Bring me that cigarette case that Mr. Worthing left in the smoking room the last time he dined here.
Yes, sir. Do you mean to tell me you've had my cigarette case this whole time? I wish to goodness you'd let me know. I've been writing frantically to Scotland Yard about it. I was very nearly offered a large reward.
Well, I wish you would. I happen to be more than usually hard up.
There's no use offering a large reward now that the thing has been found.
I think that is rather mean of you, Ernest, I must say. However, it makes no matter, for now that I look at the thing, it isn't yours after all.
Of course it is. You've seen me with it 100 times, and you have no right whatsoever to read what is written inside. It is a very ungentlemanly thing to read a private cigarette case.
Oh, it is absurd to have a hard and fast rule about what one should read and what one shouldn't read. Why, half of modern culture depends on what one shouldn't read.
I'm quite aware of that fact, and I do not propose to discuss modern culture. It simply isn't the sort of thing one should discuss in private. I simply want my cigarette case back.
Yes, but this isn't your cigarette case. This cigarette case was given as a gift from someone of the name of Cecily. And you said that you don't know anyone of that name.
Well, if you want to know, Cecily happens to be my aunt.
Your aunt?
Yes, charming old lady she is too, lives at Tunbridge Wells. Now, just give it back to me, Auntie.
So she is your aunt and lives at Tunbridge Wells, then why does she call herself Little Cecily? From Little Cecily with her fondest love.
My dear fellow, there's nothing in that. Some aunts are tall, some aunts are not tall. Surely that is a matter that an aunt should be allowed to decide for herself. You seem to think that every aunt should be exactly like your aunt, and that is absurd. Now, for heaven's sakes, give it back to me.
But why does your aunt call you her uncle? From Little Cecily with her fondest love to her dear Uncle Jack. Now, there is no objection, I admit, to a aunt being a small aunt, but why an aunt, no matter what her size may be, would call her nephew her uncle? I can't quite make out. Besides, your name isn't Jack at all. It's Ernest.
It isn't Ernest, it's Jack.
But you've always told me it was Ernest. I've introduced you to everyone as Ernest. You answer to the name of Ernest. You look as if your name were Ernest. You are the most Ernest-looking person I ever saw in my whole life. It's perfectly absurd you're saying that your name isn't Ernest. It's on your cards. Mr. Ernest Worthing, B4, the Albany. I'll keep this as proof that your name is Ernest, in case you ever try to deny it to me, or to Gwendolyn, or to anyone else.
Well, my name is Ernest in town and Jack in the country. And the cigarette case was given to me in the country.
Yes, but that does not account for the fact that your little Aunt Cecily calls you her nephew, or her uncle, or whatever. But, come on, old boy. You'd best have the whole thing out right now. I must say that I've always suspected you of being a confirmed and secret bunburyist, and I'm quite sure of it now.
What on earth do you mean by a bunburyist?
I will reveal to you the explanation of that extraordinary phrase as soon as you are kind enough to tell me why you are called Earnest in town and Jack in the country.
Well, produce my cigarette case first.
Very well. Here it is. Now produce your explanation, and pray, make it improbable.
My dear fellow, there's nothing improbable about my explanation at all. In fact, it is perfectly ordinary. Old Mr. Thomas Cardew, who adopted me as a little boy, made me, in his will, guardian to his granddaughter, Miss Cecily Cardew. Cecily, who addresses me as uncle, out of motives of respect that you couldn't possibly appreciate, lives at my place in the country under the charge of her admirable governess, Miss Prison.
And where is that place in the country, by the way?
That is nothing to you, my dear boy. You will not be invited. I can say quite candidly, though, it is not in Shropshire.
You know, I suspected that. I've bunburied all over Shropshire on 2 separate occasions. Now, continue. Why are you called Earnest in town and Jack in the country?
I don't know whether you will be able to understand my motives. You are hardly serious enough. When one is placed in the position of guardian, one has to adopt a high moral tone on all subjects. And as a high moral tone can hardly be said to conduce very much to one's health or to one's happiness, in order to get up to town, I've always pretended to have a younger brother by the name of Earnest, who lives at the Albany and gets in the most dreadful scrapes. That, my dear Alton, is the truth, pure and simple.
The truth is never pure and rarely simple. Modern society would be rather tedious if it were either. In fact, modern literature would be a complete impossibility.
That would not be at all a bad thing.
Literary criticism is not your forte, my dear fellow. Don't try it. Leave that to the people that haven't been at a university. They do it so well in the daily papers. What you are is a bunburyist. I was quite right in saying you were a bunburyist. In fact, you are one of the most advanced bunburyists I know.
What on earth do you mean by a bunburyist?
You have invented a very useful younger brother called Earnest, so that you can come up to town as often as you like. I have invented a perfectly valuable permanent invalid called Bunbury, so that I may be able to go down into the country whenever I choose. Bunbury is perfectly invaluable. If it wasn't for Bunbury's extraordinary bad health, for instance, I wouldn't be able to dine with you at Willis's tonight, for I've been rarely engaged, Aunt Augusta, for more than a week.
I haven't asked you to dine with me anywhere tonight.
I know! You're absolutely careless about sending out invitations. It's very foolish of you. Nothing annoys people more than not receiving invitations.
Well, you had much better dine with your Aunt Augusta.
I have no intention of doing anything of the kind. In the first place, I dine there on Monday, and once a week is more than enough to dine with one's own relations. In the second place, every time I do dine there, I'm treated as a member of the family, and either sat down with no woman at all, or 2. In the third place, I know perfectly well whom she'll set me next tonight. So that's sat me next to Mary Farquhar, who always flirts with her own husband across the dinner table. It's not very pleasant. Indeed, it's not even decent. And that sort of thing is enormously on the increase these days. The amount of women in London who flirt with their own husbands is perfectly scandalous. It's so bad. It's merely washing one's clean linen in public. Besides, now that I know you to be a confirmed bunburyist, I want to speak to you about bunburying. I want to tell you the rules.
I'm not a bunburyist. In fact, if Gwendolyn accepts me, I'm going to kill my brother. Indeed, I think I'll kill him in any case. Cecily has become too much interested in him, and it is such a bore. So I'm going to get rid of Earnest. And I suggest you do the same with your invalid friend who has the absurd name.
Nothing could ever induce me to part with Bunbury. And if you ever get married, my dear boy, which to me seems extremely problematic. You should be very glad to know Bunbury. Any married man who doesn't know Bunbury has a very tedious time of it.
That is nonsense. If I marry a charming girl like Gwendolyn, who is the only girl I ever saw in my life I ever cared for, I won't want to know Bunbury.
Then your wife will. My dear fellow, you don't seem to realize that in married life, 3 is company and 2 is none.
My dear fellow, that is the theory that the corrupt French drama has been propounding for the last 50 years.
Yes, and the happy English home is proved in half the time.
Don't be cynical. It is all too easy to be cynical these days.
My dear fellow, it isn't easy being anything these days. There's such a lot of beastly competition about. Ah, that must be Aunt Augusta. Only relatives or creditors ever ring in that Wagnerian manner. Now, if I manage to get her out of the way for 10 minutes so that you have the opportunity of proposing to Gwendolyn, will you please let me dine with you at Willis's tonight?
I suppose so, if you want to.
Yes, but you must be serious about it. I hate people that aren't serious about meals. It's so shallow of them.
Lady Bracknell and Miss Fairfax.
Good afternoon, dear Algernon. I hope you are behaving very well.
I'm feeling very well, Aunt Augusta, thank you.
That's not quite the same thing. In fact, the two rarely go together.
My, you are smart.
I am always smart. Aren't I, Mr. Worthing?
You are quite perfect, Miss Fairfax.
Oh, I hope I am not that. It would leave no room for developments, and I intend to develop in many directions.
I'm sorry if we are a little late, Algernon, but I was obliged to call on dear Lady Harbury. I hadn't been there since her poor husband's death. I never saw a woman so altered. She looks quite 20 years younger. And now I'll have a cup of tea and one of those nice cucumber sandwiches you promised me.
Certainly, Aunt Augusta.
Won't you come and sit over here, Gwendolyn?
Thanks, Mamma. I'm quite comfortable where I am.
Good heavens, Lane! Why are there no cucumber sandwiches? I ordered them specially.
There were no cucumbers in the market this morning, sir. I went down twice.
No cucumber?
No, not even for any money.
Thank you, Lane, that will do.
Thank you, sir.
I'm greatly distressed, Aunt Augusta, about there being no cucumbers.
Oh, it really makes no matter, Algernon. I had some crumpets with Lady Harbury, who seems to me to be living entirely for pleasure now.
I hear her hair has turned quite gold from grief.
No, it certainly has changed its color. From what cause I, of course, cannot say. I have quite a treat for you tonight, Algernon. I'm going to send you down with Mary Farquhar. She is such a nice woman and so attentive to her husband. It is delightful to watch them.
I'm afraid, Aunt Augusta, that I shall have to give up the pleasure of dining with you tonight after all.
Oh, I hope not. That would put my table completely out. Your uncle would have to dine upstairs. Fortunately, he is accustomed to that.
Well, it is a great bore, and I need hardly say a terrible disappointment to me, but I've just received a telegram to say that my good friend Bunbury is very ill again, and they seem to think that I should be with him.
'Tis very strange. This Mr. Bunbury seems to suffer from curiously bad health.
Well, Bunbury is a terrible invalid.
Well, I think it is high time that Mr. Bunbury made up his mind whether he was going to live or to die. This shilly-shallying with the question is absurd. Nor do I in any way approve of the mild sympathy with invalids. I consider it morbid. Illness of any kind is hardly a thing to be encouraged in others. Health is the primary duty of life. I am often telling that to your uncle, but he doesn't take much notice. There's not many improvements in his ailments. I should be much obliged if you would ask Mr. Bunbury for me to kindly not have a relapse on Saturday, for I rely on you to arrange my music for me. It is my last reception, and one wants something that will encourage conversation, particularly at the end of the season, when everyone has practically said whatever they had to say to begin with, which wasn't much.
Well, I'll speak to Bunbury, Aunt Augusta, if he's still conscious. And I'm sure that he will be quite all right by Saturday. You see, if you play good music, people don't listen. If you play bad music, people don't talk. But I'll run over the program that I've drawn out. If you will kindly accompany me into the next room for just a moment.
Thank you, Algernon. It's very thoughtful of you. I'm sure the program will be delightful after a few expurgations. French songs I simply cannot allow. People seem to think they're improper. And either look shocked, which is vulgar, or laugh, which is worse. But German sounds a thoroughly respectable language. And indeed, I believe so. Gwendolyn, you will accompany me?
Certainly, Mamma.
Charming day it has been, Miss Fairfax.
Pray, don't talk to me about the weather, Mr. Worthing. Whenever people talk to me about the weather, I always feel quite certain that they mean something else. It just makes me so nervous.
But I do mean something else.
I thought so. In fact, I am never wrong.
And I would like to take advantage of Lady Bracknell's temporary
I would
absence.
certainly advise you to do so. Mamma has a way of coming back suddenly into a room that I've often had to speak to her about.
Miss Fairfax, ever since I met you, I've admired you more than any girl I've ever met since I met you.
Yes, I'm quite well aware of the fact, and I often wish that, in public at any rate, you had been more demonstrative. For me, you have always had an irresistible fascination. Even before I met you, I was far from indifferent to you. We live, as I hope you know, Mr. Worthing, in an age of ideals. The fact is constantly mentioned in the more expensive monthly magazines, and has reached the provincial pulpits, I am told. And my ideal has always been to love someone of the name of Earnest. There is something in that name that inspires absolute confidence. The moment Algernon first mentioned to me that he had a friend called Earnest, I knew that I was destined to love you.
You really love me, Gwendolyn.
Passionately.
Darling, you don't know how happy you've made me.
Earnest, my own Earnest.
But you don't mean to say that you couldn't love me if my name wasn't Ernest.
But your name is Earnest.
Well, yes, but supposing it was something different, do you mean to say that you couldn't love me then?
Ah, that is clearly a metaphysical speculation, and like most metaphysical speculations, has very little reference at all to the actual facts of daily life as we know them.
Well, really, Gwendolyn, I must say I don't much care for the name Ernest. I don't think it suits me at all.
It suits you perfectly. It is a divine name. It has a music of its own. It produces vibrations.
Really, Gwendolyn, I think there are much other nicer names. I think Jack, for instance, a charming name.
Jack? No. There is very little music in the name Jack, if any at all, indeed. It does not thrill. It produces absolutely no vibrations. I have known several Jacks, and they all, without exception, were more than usually plain. Besides, Jack has a notorious domesticity for John, and I pity any woman who is married to a man called John. She would probably never be allowed to know the intrinsic pleasure of a single moment's solitude. The only really safe name is Ernest.
Gwendolyn, I must get christened at once. I mean, we must get married at once.
Married, Mr. Worthing?
Well, you know that I love you, and you led me to believe, Miss Fairfax, that you weren't absolutely indifferent to me.
I adore you, but you haven't proposed to me yet. Nothing has been said at all about marriage. The subject has not even been touched on.
Well, may I propose to you now?
I think it would be an admirable opportunity. And just to spare you any possible disappointment, Mr. Worthing, I think it's only fair to tell you quite frankly beforehand that I am fully determined to accept you.
Oh, Gwendolyn!
Yes, Mr. Worthing, what have you got to say to me?
But you know what I've got to say to you.
Yes, but you don't say it.
Gwendolyn, will you marry me?
Of course I will, darling. How long you have been about it. I'm afraid you have had very little experience in how to propose.
But my own one, I've never loved anyone in the world but you.
Yes, but men often propose for practice. I know my brother Gerald does. All my girlfriends tell me so. always look at me just like that, especially when there are other people present.
Mr. Worthing, rise, sir, from that semi-recumbent posture. Is most indecorous.
Mamma, this is no place for you. I must beg you to retire. Besides, Mr. Worthing is not quite finished yet.
Finished what, may I ask?
I'm engaged to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Beg your pardon. You are not engaged to anyone. When you do become engaged to someone, I or your father, should his health permit him, will inform you of the fact. An engagement should come on a young girl as a surprise, pleasant or unpleasant as the case may be. It is hardly a thing she could be allowed to arrange for herself. And now, Mr. Worthing, I have a few questions to put to you. While I am making these inquiries, you, Gwendolen, will wait for me below in the carriage.
Mamma!
In the carriage, Gwendolen. Gwendolen, the carriage! You can take a seat, Mr. Worthing.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell. I prefer standing.
I feel bound to tell you that you are not down on my list of eligible young men. Although I have the same list as the dear Duchess of Bolton has. We work together, as a matter of fact. But I am fully prepared to enter your name should your answers be what a really affectionate mother requires. Do you smoke?
Well, yes, I must admit I smoke.
I'm glad to hear it. A man should have an occupation of some kind. There are far too many idle men in London as it is. How old are you?
I'm 29.
A very good age to be married at. I have always been of opinion that a man who desires to get married should know either everything or nothing. Which do you know?
I know nothing, Lady Bracknell.
I am pleased to hear it. I do not approve of anything that tampers with natural ignorance. Ignorance is like a delicate, exotic bloom. Touch it, and that bloom is gone. The whole theory of modern education is radically unsound. Fortunately, in England, at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. If it did, it would prove a serious danger to the upper classes and probably cause acts of violence in Grosvenor Square. What is your income?
Between 7,000 and 8,000 a year.
In land or in investments?
In investments, chiefly.
That is satisfactory. What with the duties expected of one during one's lifetime, and the duties exacted from one after one's death, well, land has ceased to be either a profit or a pleasure. It provides one with position and prevents one from keeping it up. That is all that can be said about land.
I do own a country house with some land, of course, attached to it, about 1,500 acres, but I don't depend on that for my real income. In fact, as far as I can make out, the poachers are the only people who make anything out of it.
A country house. How many bedrooms? Oh, well, that point can be cleared up afterwards. You do have a townhouse, I hope. A girl with a simple, unspoiled nature such as Gwendolen could hardly be expected to reside in the country.
I do own a house in Belgrave Square, but it is let by the year to Lady Broxham. I can get it back whenever I like at 6 months' notice.
Lady Bloxham, I don't know her.
Oh, she goes about very little. She is a lady considerably advanced in years.
Ah, nowadays, that is no guarantee of respectability of character. What's number at Belgrave Square?
149.
The unfashionable side. I thought there was something. Oh, well, that could all be altered.
Do you mean the fashion or the side?
Both, if necessary, I presume. What are your politics?
Well, I'm afraid I have none. I'm a liberal unionist.
Ah, they count as Tories. They dine with us. Or come in the evenings, at any rate. Now on to minor matters. Are your parents living?
I have lost both my parents.
Both? That seems like carelessness. Who was your father? He was evidently a man of some wealth. Was he born into what the radical papers refer to as the purple of commerce, or did he rise up through the ranks of the aristocracy?
Well, I really don't know. I told you, Lady Bracknell, that I had lost my parents, but it is nearer the truth to say that my parents seem to have lost me. I don't actually know who I am by birth. I was found.
Found?
Yes, the late Mr. Thomas Cardew, an old gentleman of a charitable and kindly disposition, found me and gave me the name Worthing because he happened to have a first-class ticket for Worthing in his pocket at the time. Worthing is a place in Sussex. It is a seaside resort.
And where did this charitable gentleman with the first-class ticket to this seaside resort find you?
In a handbag.
A handbag?
Yes, Lady Bracknell, a handbag. A somewhat large handbag with handles to it. Quite an ordinary handbag, in fact.
And in what locality did this Mr. James or Thomas Cardew come across this ordinary handbag?
In the cloakroom at Victoria Station.
Cloakroom at Victoria Station?
Yes, the Brighton line.
The line is immaterial. Mr. Worthing, I confess, I am a bit bewildered by what you had just told me. To be born, or at any rate bred, in a handbag, whether it had handles or not, seems to me to display a contempt for the ordinary decencies of family life that reminds one of the worst successes of the French Revolution. And I presume you know what that unfortunate movement led to. As to the particular locality of the handbag, a cloakroom in a railway station might serve to conceal a social indiscretion, has probably been used for that purpose before now, but could hardly be regarded as an assured basis for a recognized position in good society.
What then would you advise me to do? And need I hardly say that I would do anything in the world to ensure Gwendolyn's happiness?
I advise you, Mr. Worthing, to try and acquire some relations as soon as possible, and to make a definite effort to produce at any rate one parent of either sex before the season is quite over.
Well, I don't see how I could possibly manage to do that. I can produce the handbag. It is in my dressing room at home. That should suit you, Lady Bracknell.
Me? What has it to do with me? Oh, you can't imagine for a moment that I, Lord Bracknell, would dream of allowing our only daughter, a girl brought up with the utmost care, to marry into a cloakroom and form an alliance with a parcel. Oh, good morning, Mr. Worthing.
Oh, good morning. Oh, for goodness sakes, Algy, don't play that ghastly tune. How idiotic you are.
Did it go off all right, old boy? You don't mean to say that she refused you? Oh, I know it is a way that she has. Gwendolyn is always refusing people. I think it rather ill-natured of her.
Gwendolyn is right as a trivet. But as far as she is concerned, we are engaged, but her mother is absolutely unbearable. I never met such a gorgon in my life. I don't know what a gorgon is like, but I'm quite sure she is one. At any rate, she is a monster, without being a myth, which is rather unfair. Pardon me, dear Algy, I shouldn't talk that way of your own aunt before you.
My dear fellow, I love hearing my relations abused. It's the only thing that makes me put up with them at all. Relations are merely a tedious pack of people who haven't got the remotest idea how to live, nor the smallest instinct on when to die.
That is nonsense.
It isn't.
Well, I won't argue with you about it. You always want to argue about things.
Well, that is what things were originally meant for.
Upon my word, if I thought that, I'd shoot myself. You don't suppose there's any chance of Gwendolyn becoming like her mother in about 150 years, do you?
Every woman becomes like their mother. That is their tragedy. No man does. That's his.
Is that clever?
It's perfectly phrased, and quite as true as any observation in civilized life should be.
I'm sick to death of cleverness. Everybody's clever these days. You can't go anywhere without meeting clever people. It's become an absolute public nuisance. I wish to goodness we had a few fools left.
We have.
Well, I'd extremely like to meet them. What do they talk about?
The fools? Oh, about the clever people, of course.
What fools?
By the way, did you tell Gwendolyn the truth about your being Earnest in town and Jack in the country?
My dear fellow, the truth isn't the sort of thing one tells to a nice, sweet, refined girl. What extraordinary ideas you have about how to behave to a woman.
The only way to behave to a woman is to make love to her if she's pretty, or to someone else if she's plain.
That is nonsense.
What about your brother? What about the profligate Earnest?
Oh, I shall look off rid of him by the end of the week. I'll say he died quite suddenly in Paris of apoplexy. People die quite suddenly of apoplexy, don't they?
Well, yes, but it's hereditary, my dear fellow. It's the sort of thing that runs in families. And you'd much better say a severe chill.
You don't think a severe chill is hereditary or anything of the kind?
Of course it isn't.
Very well then. My poor brother Earnest is suddenly carried off in Paris by a severe chill. That gets rid of him.
But I thought you said that Miss Cardew was a little too much interested in your brother Ernest. Won't she feel his loss a great deal?
Oh, that is all right. Cecily isn't a silly romantic girl. She has a capital appetite, she takes long walks, and she hardly pays attention at all to her lessons.
I should really like to see Cecily.
I will take very good care that you never do. She's excessively pretty, and she's only just 18.
Have you told Gwendolyn that you have an excessively pretty ward who is only just 18?
One doesn't blurt these things out to people. Cecily and Gwendolyn are perfectly certain to become extremely great friends. I'll bet you anything you like that half an hour after they've met, they will be calling each other sister.
Women only do that after having called each other a lot of other things first. Well, if we're going to get a good table at Willis's, we really must go and dress. You know there's nearly 7?
Oh, it is almost always nearly 7.
Well, I'm hungry.
I never knew you when you weren't.
Well, what shall we do after we go to the dinner? Go to the theater?
No, I loathe listening.
Well, perhaps we can go to the club.
No. I hate talking.
Well, we could trot around the Empire at 10.
Oh, no. I can't bear looking at things. It's so silly.
Well, then what are we going to do?
Nothing.
Nothing. It's very hard work doing nothing. But I don't mind hard work so long as there is no object of any kind. Miss Fairfax. Gwendolyn, upon my word.
Algy, kindly turn your back. I have something very particular to say to Mr. Worthing.
Gwendolyn, I don't know if I can allow that at all.
Algy, you always adopt a strictly immoral attitude towards life. You are not quite old enough to do that. Ernest, I feel that we shall never be married from the expression on Mamma's face. Two parents nowadays pay any regard to what their children say to them. The old-fashioned respect for the young is fast dying out. Whatever influence I ever had over Mamma, I lost at the age of 3. Because although she may prevent us from becoming man and wife, and I may marry someone else, and very often, nothing that she can possibly do can alter my eternal devotion to you.
Oh, dear Gwendolyn.
The story of your romantic origins, as related to me by Mamma, with unpleasing comments, has naturally stirred the deeper fibers of my nature. Your Christian name has an irresistible fascination. The simplicity of your character is exquisitely incomprehensible to me. Your town address at the Albany I have. What is your address in the country?
The Manor House, Wilton, Hertfordshire.
There is a good postal service, I suppose. It may be necessary to do something desperate. That, of course, will require serious consideration. I will communicate with you daily.
Oh, my own one.
How long do you remain in town?
Till Monday.
Good. Algy, you may turn round now.
Oh, thank you. I've turned around already.
You may also ring the bell.
You will let me see you to your carriage, my own one?
Certainly.
I will see Miss Fairfax out.
Yes, sir.
A glass of sherry, Lane.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow, Lane, I'm going bundering.
Yes, sir.
I won't be back until Monday. You can put up my dress clothes, the smoking jacket, and all of the Bunbury suit.
Yes, sir.
I hope tomorrow will be a fine day, Lane.
It never is, sir.
Lane, you are a perfect pessimist.
I do my best to give satisfaction, sir.
There's a sensible, intellectual girl, if I ever met one in my life. The only girl I cared for my whole entire life. What on earth are you so amused at?
Oh, nothing. I'm merely anxious about Bunbury, that's all.
Well, you better take care. Your friend Bunbury will get you into a serious scrape one of these days.
Oh, I love scrapes. They're the only things in this world that's never serious.
That is nonsense. You never talk of anything but nonsense.
Well, nobody ever does.
Young man, his brother, to come down here sometimes. We might have a good influence over him, Miss Prism. I know you certainly would. You know, German and geology and things of that kind tend to influence a man very much.
I don't think that even I could have any effect on a character that, according to his own brother, is irretrievably weak and vacillating. Indeed, I don't think that I would desire to reclaim him. I'm not in favor of this modern mania of turning bad people into good people at a moment's notice. As a man sows, so shall he reap. Cecily, please put down your diary. I don't know why you should keep a diary at all.
I keep a diary in order to enter the wonderful secrets of my life. If I didn't write them down, I should probably forget all about them.
Memory, my dear Cecily, is a diary that we all carry around with us.
Yes, but it usually chronicles the things that have never happened and things that couldn't possibly have happened. I believe that memory is responsible for nearly all the 3-volume novels that Moody sends us.
Do not speak lightly of the 3-volume novel, Cecily. I wrote one myself in earlier days.
Did you really, Miss Prism? How wonderfully clever you are. But I hope it did not end happily. I don't like novels that end happily. They depress me so much.
The good ended happily and the bad unhappily. That is what fiction means.
Yes, I suppose so. But it seems very unfair. And was your novel ever published?
these speculations are profitless.
But I see dear Dr. Chasuble coming up through the garden.
Dr. Chasuble, this is indeed a pleasure.
And how are we this morning? Miss Prism, you are, I trust, well?
Oh, Miss Prism has just been complaining of a slight headache. I think a short stroll through the park would do much good, Dr. Chasuble.
Cecily, I do nothing of a headache.
Oh, no, I know that, but I felt instinctively that you had a headache. In fact, I was thinking of that and not my German lesson when the rector came in.
I hope, Cecily, you are not inattentive.
Oh, I'm afraid I am.
That is strange. Were I fortunate enough to be Miss Prism's pupil, I would hang upon her lips. I spoke metaphorically. My metaphor was drawn from bees. Mr. Worthing, I suppose, has not returned from town yet?
We don't expect him till Monday afternoon.
Ah, yes. He usually likes to spend his Sunday in London. He is not one of those whose sole aim is enjoyment, as opposed, on all accounts, that unfortunate young man, his brother, seems to be. But I must not disturb Egeria and her pupil any longer.
Egeria? Doctor, my name is Letitia.
A classical allusion merely, drawn from the pagan authors. I shall see you both, no doubt, at evensong.
Doctor, I think I will have a stroll with you. Oh, it seems I do have a headache after all, and a walk might do it some good.
With pleasure, Miss Prism, with pleasure. We might go so far as the schools and back.
That would be delightful. Cecily, you will study your political economy in my absence. The chapter on the fall of the rupee you may omit. It is far too sensational. Even these metallic problems have their melodramatic side.
Horrid political economy. Horrid geology. Horrid German.
Mr. Ernest Worthing has just driven up from the station. He has brought his luggage with him.
Mr. Ernest Worthing, before the Albany W. Uncle Jack's brother. Did you tell him Mr. Worthing was in town?
Yes, miss. He seemed much disappointed. I mentioned that you and Miss Prism were in the garden. He seemed very anxious to speak to you privately for a moment.
Ask Mr. Worthington to come out here. I suppose you'd better talk to the housekeeper about a room for him.
Yes, miss.
I have never met any really wicked person before. I feel rather frightened. I am so afraid he will look just like everyone else. Oh, he does!
You are my little cousin Cecily, I'm sure.
Oh, you are in some strange mistake. I am not little. In fact, I'm more than usually tall for my age. But I am your cousin Cecily. And you, I see from your card, are Uncle Jack's brother, my cousin Ernest, my wicked cousin Ernest.
Oh, I'm not wicked at all, cousin Cecily. You mustn't think me wicked.
Oh, if you are not, then you have certainly been deceiving us all in a most inexcusable manner. I hope you've not been leading a double life, pretending to be wicked and being really good all the time. That would be hypocrisy.
Well, I have been rather reckless.
I am glad to hear it.
In fact, now that you mention the subject, I have been very bad in my own small way.
I don't think you should be so proud of that. Though I am sure it must have been very, pleasant.
It's much more pleasant being here with you.
I can't see how you were here at all. Uncle Jack will be back till Monday afternoon.
Oh, that is a great disappointment. I'm obliged to go by the first train on Monday morning. There's a business appointment in London that I'm anxious to miss.
But couldn't you miss it anywhere but in London?
No, the appointment is in London.
Oh, yes. I know how important it is to miss a business engagement if one is to retain any sense of beauty of life, but I still think you had better wait till Uncle Jack arrives. I know he wants to talk to you about your emigrating.
About my what?
About your emigrating. He has gone up to buy your outfit.
I certainly wouldn't let Jack buy my outfit. He has no taste in neckties at all.
I don't think you will be requiring neckties. Uncle Jack is sending you to Australia.
Australia? I'd sooner die.
Well, Uncle Jack said on Wednesday at dinner that you would have to choose between this world, the next world, and Australia.
Oh, well. Well, the accounts I've received of Australia or the next world are not particularly encouraging. This world is good enough for me, Cousin Cecily.
Yes, but are you good enough for it?
I'm afraid I'm not that. That is why I want you to reform me. You might make that your mission, if you don't mind, Cousin Cecily.
I'm afraid I've not the time this afternoon.
Oh. Well, then would you mind my reforming myself?
That is rather chaotic of you, but I think you should try.
Oh, I will. I feel better already.
You are looking a little worse.
That is because I'm hungry.
Oh, how very thoughtless of me. One should have remembered that when one is going to lead an entirely new life, one requires regular and wholesome meals. Won't you come in?
Might I have a buttonhole first? I never have any appetite unless I've had a buttonhole first.
A mock-your meal?
Oh, no, a pink rose.
Why?
Because you are like a pink rose, Cousin Cecily.
I don't think it can be right for you to say such things to me. Miss Prism never does.
Well, then Miss Prism is a very short-sighted old lady. You are the prettiest girl I ever saw.
Miss Prism says all good looks are a snare.
They are a snare that every sensible man should like to get caught in.
I don't think I would like to catch a sensible man. I shouldn't know what to talk to him about.
You are too much alone, dear Dr. Tossable. You really should get married. A misanthrope I can understand. A womanthrope, never.
Believe me, I do not deserve so neologistic a phrase. The precept as well as the practice of the primitive church was distinctly against matrimony.
That is obviously the reason why the primitive church has not lasted to the present day. And you do not seem to realize, dear doctor, that by persistently remaining single, a man converts himself into a permanent public temptation. Men should really be more careful. This very celibacy leads weaker vessels astray.
But is not a man equally attractive when married?
A married man is only attractive to his wife.
And often I've been told, not even to her.
That depends on the intellectual sympathies of the woman. Maturity can be depended upon. Ripeness can be trusted. Young women are green! I spoke horticulturally. My metaphor came from fruits. But where's Cecily?
Perhaps she followed us to the schools.
Mr. Worthing!
Mr. Worthing?
This is indeed a surprise. We did not look for you till Monday afternoon.
I have returned sooner than I expected. I hope you are well, Dr. Troswell.
Dear Mr. Worthing, I trust this garb of woe does not betoken some terrible calamity.
My brother.
More shameful debts and extravagance.
Still leading his life of pleasure.
Dead.
Your brother, Ernest, dead?
Quite dead.
What a lesson for him! I trust he will profit by it!
Mr. Worthing, I offer you my sincere condolence. You have at least the consolation of knowing that you were always the most generous and forgiving of brothers.
Oh, poor Ernest. He had many faults, but it is a sad, sad blow.
Very sad indeed. Were you with him at the end?
No, he died abroad in Paris, in fact. I had a telegram last night from the manager of the Grand Hotel.
Was the cause of death mentioned?
A severe chill, it seems.
As a man sows, so shall he reap.
Charity, dear Miss Prism, Charity. None of us are perfect. I myself am peculiarly susceptible to drafts. Will the interment take place here?
No, he seems to have expressed a desire to be buried in Paris.
In Paris? I fear that hardly points to any very serious state of mind at the last. You would no doubt wish me to make some slight allusion to this tragic domestic affliction next Sunday. My sermon on the meaning of the manna in the wilderness can be adapted to almost any occasion. Joyful, or as in the present case, distressing. I have preached it at harvest celebrations, christenings, confirmations, on days of humiliation, and on festal days. The last time I delivered it was in the cathedral, as a charity sermon, on behalf of the Society for the Prevention of Discontent among the upper orders. The bishop, who was present, was much struck by some of the analogies I drew.
That reminds me, you mentioned christenings, I think, Dr. Chasuble. I suppose you know how to christen all right? I mean, you are continually christening, aren't you?
It is, I regret to say, one of the most constant duties of the rector in this parish. I have often spoken to the poor classes on the subject, but they don't seem to know what thrift is.
But is there any particular infant in whom you are interested, Mr. Worthing? Your brother, I believe, was unmarried, was he not?
Oh, yes.
People who live entirely for pleasure usually are.
But it is not for any infant, dear doctor. No, I'm quite fond of children. No, I want to be christened myself this afternoon, if you have nothing better to do.
But surely, Mr. Worthing, you have been christened already.
Well, I don't remember anything about it.
But have you any grave doubts on the subject?
I certainly intend to have. But I don't know whether it would bother you in any way, or if I'm a little bit too old now.
Oh, not at all. The sprinkling and indeed the immersion of adults is perfectly canonical practice.
Immersion?
You need have no apprehension. Sprinkling is all that is required, or indeed I think desirable. Our weather is so changeable. At what hour would you wish the ceremony performed?
I might trot around about 5 if that would suit you.
Perfectly, perfectly. In fact, I have 2 similar ceremonies to perform at that same time. A case of twins that occurred recently in one of the outlying cottages on your own estate. Lord Jenkins, the carter, a most hard-working man.
No, but I don't see much fun in being christened with other babies. It would be childish. Would 5:30 do?
Admirably, admirably. And now, Mr. Worthing, I will intrude no longer into a house of sorrow. I would merely beg you not to be too much bowed down by grief. What seem to us bitter trials at the moment are often blessings in disguise.
This seems to be a blessing of the most obvious kind.
Oh, Uncle Jack! Oh, I'm pleased to see you back. Oh, but what horrid clothes you've got on. Do go and change them.
Cecily!
My child, my child!
Uncle Jack, what's the matter? Oh, do look happy. You look as if you had toothache. And I have such a surprise for you.